Hi everyone, it's Emma here. I thought we could do a short practice today together, focusing on downward facing dog. So get onto your mat and let's start in tabletop. So have your wrists underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. And spread your fingers out and push firmly down into all your knuckles. And send the shoulders away from the hands, draw the belly in. And let's stay here for 5. Slow, steady breaths. 3. Belly is drawing up and in. 2. And 1. Let's take the hands forward towards the top of the mat and keep the hips high over the knees and then lower the chest so that your ears come about in line with your upper arms. This is half dog. Let's stay for 5 breaths here as well. Push the floor away and lengthen through your shoulders and your side body. 3 more. 2 more breaths. And last round of breath. Good. Walk your hands back in. Let's take the bottom back, knees wide. Come down into a child's pose. And you can rest your forehead either on the mat, on your arms, or on a block. Let's stay here for a few breaths. Okay, let's come back up into tabletop, and from tabletop we'll come into our first downward facing dog. So curl your toes under, hover your knees and then push your chest back, lift your hips high into the air and just adjust yourself on the mat. Hands about shoulder width, feet about hip width, belly draws in, lengthening the shoulders and the wrists and the elbows away from the mat. Soften the knees if you need to. It's a really handy little option we have for getting a bit more into the back. Okay, so just have a little play around with how it feels to bend the knees and keep pushing the mat away. As always, don't worry if your heels don't touch the mat. That is not important in the grand scheme of things. Okay, let's come into 3-legged dog. Take your right leg up and back and then step your right foot forward and we'll stay in a low runner's lunge and then ground your left hand and inhale, reach your right arm into the air and maybe take your gaze up to your right hand. Have 1 more breath. And exhale, hand to mat. Let's walk around to face the long edge of the mat. Take your feet a little wide if you want for wide leg fold. Inhale, lift the chest. And exhale, fold down. With the option to walk your hands back in any way that feels good for you with your practice. Bring the weight forward a little into the fronts of the feet so your hips travel forward to line up perhaps more with your heels. 3 more deep breaths. Okay, let's inhale. Let's come to a halfway lift. And we'll go to the other edge of the mat, the other long edge of the mat, left foot forward. So it's low runner's lunge once again, nice and low in the hips. Right hand down, long spine, and then reach up your left hand and maybe take your gaze up as well. Keep your back leg strong and straight, rotating the chest to the side. Let's have a couple more breaths. And then exhale your left hand down and let's walk it back into the center once again. Okay, so this time we're going to combine our wide leg fold with our downward facing dog. So the legs stay in wide leg fold, and I'm going to slide the hands off the mat and lower the chest down so the ears line up just above the elbows, and all the actions of down dog for 5. Spread your fingers, push the palms firmly down, lift up through the hips. Three more breaths. 2 more breaths. And a final round of breath. And then walk your hands back in. We're going to hop the feet together, spin back around to face the top of the mat. Okay, so now we're just going to do a couple of extra variations of downward facing dog, or rather poses that we can get into from downward facing dog. Okay, so let's head to down dog, curl the toes, lift up the heels, push back. So first of all, we're going to do twisted dog. So first of all, take a breath in, and then take your right hand towards your left ankle. And if you're not able to connect, you might want to walk your hands and your feet just a little closer. So shorten up your dog. So keep the arm that's down exactly as it would be if it was in downward facing dog. Another couple of breaths. And then let's do the other side. Left hand over to right ankle. And you may want to look out to the side. So keeping your right arm as if it was in your dog. Another couple of breaths. And then let's bring it back, downward facing dog, push back. And indeed, let's go into a child's pose. So you might want to come off the wrists for a moment. Take a little movement in the wrists. That's one thing about a downward facing dog practice. It is heavy on the wrists. And there's no way around that really. Unless you do a completely modified sequence. Okay, let's push ourselves back, downward facing dog. Okay, this time, let's take the right leg up and back into a closed hip, 3-legged dog. So keeping your arms in your dog shape and just reaching your back leg up and away. Okay, let's change, other side. Lifting up and back, keeping your shoulders level. Equal distribution of weight in your hands. Closed hips, so both hips facing the mat. A couple more breaths. And exhale, downward facing dog. Okay, from here, inhale, come forward into plank. You might need to take your feet a bit further back. Breathe in plank. Exhale, knees to the mat. And lower all the way down. And tuck your toes. And slide your elbows forward for Sphinx. So push down to the feet, push down into the arms, and gaze forward or gaze to the top of your mat. Let's stay here for 5. 4, 3, 2, and last breath in, lifting the chest up. Exhale, come down into reverse corpse. Just let the energy settle in the body for a moment, maybe wriggle the hips. Okay, let's push up to table. Another version. Well, it's not really a version, it's just something that, it's a pose that I often practice when we've done a lot of downward facing dog or shoulder work in the class, and it's dolphin. So the legs are similar to downward facing dog, but that's pretty much where the similarities lie. Oh, I've just remembered why I wanted to put this in. It is actually a great variation if you want to stay off the wrist. It's hard, but at least there's no pressure onto your wrist. Okay, so dolphin. Let's come into table and drop the elbows under the shoulders. So you are in like a forearm tabletop. Palms spread, fingers spread out, palms firmly down, and forearms are parallel with each other. So no wandering in. Keep the forearms like train tracks. Curl your toes under and push into your foundation and lift up through your hips. So keep your shoulders nice and stable. Your gaze is either forward or back, and then maybe walk your toes towards your elbows. Keep your shoulders really strong and stay for 5, 4, stick with it, 3, 2, 1, and if you've walked your toes in, walk them out, knees down. Let's go back into child's pose. And this time you might want to take your hands behind you. Okay, let's come up. Let's swing around just for a moment. Okay, let's just do a few things to stretch out the shoulders. So first of all, we'll take a reverse prayer behind the back. So bring your palms to touch behind your back and wrap your shoulder blades towards your spine. Now, if your palms don't touch behind the back, no problem. Just grab hold of opposite wrist with opposite hand. So opening through the chest. Deep breath. How are we doing? Good. Another couple of breaths. Okay, let's release that. Roll the shoulders, wriggle the fingers, circle the wrists. And then sweep your left arm into the air with your thumb pointing back. Let's practice Gomukhasana. Drop your elbow to the right shoulder. And then take your your right arm out, thumb down, rotate that arm in, and then see if you can make a connection behind your back. And if the connection is not there, don't worry, just grab your top, or just have your hands pointing in the same direction as each other. Top elbow up, bottom elbow down. Let's stay for 5. Three, 2, and 1. Let's release this carefully. Release the top arm, release the bottom arm, roll the shoulders around. Let's just change the feet. I mean, we're kind of not doing this properly because there's proper legs, but we're not doing that. Okay, let's reach the right arm up, thumb to the back, bend the elbow, drop the fingers to the left shoulder. Left arm swoops around, rotates in. Look for the connection behind your back, which may be easier or not so easy on this side. Top elbow up, bottom elbow down. Open through the chest, 5 deep breaths. Three more. 2 more. A final breath in and a final breath out. Good. Let's release. Let's roll the shoulders. Maybe wriggle the fingers, move the wrists. Good. Okay, one more thing I wanted us to do together from the foundation of downward facing dog, which is wild thing, an energetic back bend with an arm balance. So let's come back to downward facing dog, our final pose, wild thing. So let's come into table. Hands shoulder width, curl the toes under and push up and back into your dog. Okay, Ground into your left foot. Inhale, reach your right leg up and back. And then this time take an open three-legged dog, knee out to the side. And you open the hip area. Okay, come high onto your left toes and then spin around and let your right foot drop to the mat. Keep it bent, straighten the left leg, and inhale, reach up with your right hand or reach it back. Keep lifting up through the hips. 3, 2, 1, and then we'll spin back to three-legged dog and to downward facing dog. Just reset and we'll do the other side. Chest back, thighs back. Okay, left leg, three-legged dog. And once again, bend the knee and open the hip out to the left, dropping the left heel towards the right side. Come high onto your right toes and then spin around, drop your left foot, straighten your right leg now, lift the hips, reach up and maybe reach back. Keep the hips lifting and keep pushing the floor away, a back bend for 3, 4, 2, and 1. Bring your left hand back to the mat, three-legged dog and downward facing dog. Okay, pedal out your dog. Knees down, hips back, child's pose. Maybe come off the wrists. Let your energy settle now. Great practice, everybody. You can stay in child's pose for a bit longer if you want, or you could flip over and take constructive rest or shavasana to round off your practice. Thank you for practicing with me on this video. I'll see you next time. Om Shanti.